So this video is dedicated, yes, dedicated is the right word, to Joseph Arimathea. Now, Joseph Arimathea is one of my nearest and dearest, up there with Anna, grandmother of Jesus. Now, I know a lot of you that watch my videos are also very, very deeply connected to the Essenes. Now, I know a lot of us have had conversations via. In fact, it's been the Essenes energies that's brought us together, more so the Egyptian energies, and for me, I was aware of the Holy Family. I was aware of Mother Mary and everything like that, but not quite until I deep dived into my Egypt self. And that is where I really got to know the Holy Family, because that is the essence of my origin, to do with my connection with them, because let's face it, we've all walked together with Anna, no doubt, you know what I mean, many, many times. And I've met many of you out there. We've had the same conversation, a deep remembrance of walking together as disciples and everything like that. So we hold this very, very powerful wisdom, and knowledge of what it is to be part of a collective, to anchor the divine plan. Now, I shan't go into it in too much detail because this is going to be the longest video ever. But Anna, grandmother of Jesus, she is a divine. I mean, like, I connect with her through the Hathor temples. When I actually go to Egypt and we walk into Temple Dendera, which is the Hathor temple, she's right there. The columns that you walk into right there, there's a huge portal there. And Anna is always there because she was a high priestess of the Sekhmet teachings and of the Hathor teachings. So I feel such a presence of her there, So, of course, Joseph of Arimathea was her son. All right. So he was in charge of logistics. Let's put it that way. A very, very formidable, powerful force in just holding power, really. He was a very, very rich businessman. He was very connected to many, many people. I suppose you'd call them governments in those days. He knew he had a lot of money. He rubbed shoulders with the right people, and he was able to make sure that the Holy Family had a smooth rite of passage wherever they traveled to. And he was very clever in making sure the wheel turned. So he was a massive, massive factor of the whole death, rebirth, resurrection, crucifixion codes, if you want to call it. He was a massive part of that mission for Jesus. In fact, he held space for Jesus to go to all of it, to attend his initiations, to make sure he got there and completed them everywhere. So he was kind of like his guardian and his keeper. And in a way, Joseph had this very, very powerful wisdom and knowledge and just energy, just real space holding energy, even for his nephew, Yeshua. He knew he was able to guide him and teach him just as he moved through his process. So Joseph brings a lot of medicine to us space holders and us teachers. And I want to just share with you now how I met Joseph and how he helps me and how he can help you, right? So I met Jesus in Egypt, and I'd already been, I mean, listen, this is about bringing through your conscious creation, your divine mission, your divine plan, your divine mission and divine plan. And I'm going to share with you how he helped me do mine, which is birth the tablets of light Tor, birth Heka, birth all the other things I've got bubbling away in the background. Do you know what I mean? He helped me land it. So I'm going to share with you how it unfolded. Sit tight. So I went to Egypt. First couple of times I went to Egypt, I was just attending people's groups, just little old me, small, inadequate little old me. There's no way I could do anything like that, but that's what I did. And I attended other people's things. And I used to give them ideas and suggestions for their retreats, which they would do. And then they would get all the glory and I would sit there feeling even more inadequate. So I was just like this self-sabotaging really for a lot of my life. Do you know what I mean? And it was awful and it was uncomfortable, but there's no way I could have done that because I'm too scared, too intimidating to put my own groups on. Then got a message, several messages while I was in Egypt. You will bring tours. And in fact, it came from Sekhmet. I was in her chambers and she says, you're going to bring tours. And I was like, hell nah. And I ran a mile. And then I let it land. Okay. And then I eventually ended up going to Egypt on my own pilgrimage. And I basically went to the land and asked for its permission for me to bring groups there. I needed to go and do that. So that's exactly what I did. Now, there is a beautiful church that I put in at the end of my tours. And this church I'd visited for the first time on my own pilgrimage. And it's where the Holy Family hid out for 6 months. So there's this beautiful holy church in the most holiest part of Egypt. It's downtown Cairo. It's beautiful. And there's a well there and there's a sacred crypt where Joseph and Mary and Yeshua, who was a baby, hid out because 6 months it wasn't safe for them. So I went there, stood around the well, went into the crypt, no problem, came home, had a sleep, and then this almighty energy came through, massive activation. Turns out that it was Joseph Arimathea, and he was like, oh, hey. And I was like, who are you? Didn't know who he was. And then I started to really find out about him. And that was a massive poke that, hey, you're a space holder, you're a way shower, you hold the codes at the Essenes, your Essene lineage, you have a divine mission, which is the divine plan. You're going to recreate it, and you're going to bring others to that. That's you. You're going to bring others to this, and you're going to lead this mission, and you're going to get everybody on the same page and help them remember, because they all have something very powerful to bring the infrastructure together. So it was like a huge, like, what? Last week I was inadequate. Now all of a sudden you're giving me like a mission like this. So it was very intense, my first meeting with Joseph. So anyway, went home, integrated it, took it on, no problem. You know what I mean? So that was me meeting Joseph in Egypt. Now we all know that basically he's very connected to Avalon. And I'm actually born down the road from Avalon in the UK, Glastonbury. So again, long story short, ended up going on a priestess group, attending someone else's group, went to his sacred crypt where he lies, put my hands on top of his place of rest. And then all of a sudden, I had this almighty rush of energy, and he came through, and he came through pure channel. It was in public, and I was doing a lot of that. I was like, oh my God. But anyway, for those that channel out there, which is a lot of you, you know how it is. And yeah, he came through really, really strong. And he was like, this is the divine balance now. Of course, we have Egypt and we have Avalon, which is all about heart. So this is very important for you as a space holder, way shower, whatever. He was showing me you have to have this balance within you, because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to hold the light. Now, the message that he brought through this, the one bit I did remember, I remember just saying, hold the light. You have to hold the light. And I was like, well, that's kind of cheesy and all that. But then I started to understand what he was saying. For us, who are basically holding this ancient infrastructure for others to come through, because we're just recreating the plan here. And if this is resonating with a lot of you, then good. Messages in the comments, because I need to hear from you. Because we all, I'm putting my Batman and sign in the sky. If you're reacting to this, let's let's pick up this momentum, right? Because we've all got to come together now, right? So that's what he was talking about, holding the light. Hold the light, because we need to be strong, because others, a lot are going to come, right? So that was the message. Now, he also showed me that Glastonbury Abbey is the biggest, or was the biggest church abbey ever built in the world. It was the biggest one in the world. And he said, build it and they will come. And I remember sitting there going, that's a big abbey. That's really big. Do you know what I mean? And he was like, well, you're going to build it. And I was just like, well, Jesus. I mean, it was metaphoric, of course. I'm not going to go and build a church somewhere. It's okay. Do you know what I mean? But that's what he was saying. We have to have the courage, the strength, the perseverance, the faith to build what we agreed to build. But here's the thing. He said it's not to be done on your own at all, because that's the fear, isn't it? Got to do all of this on my own. Others will come, because as a collective, the Essenes were able to put Yeshua on the cross. They brought up all the energy, you know what I mean, and all the frequency. They had seers, they had crystal healers, they had healers, you know what I mean? They had all sorts of different gifted Essene beings that were fully trained in different parts of where Yeshua was going up on the cross. They work from different caves and everything like that. It was a team effort. Yeshua couldn't have done that on his own. They had to ramp up the energy so he could actually expand the energy and kind of like activate the portal, anchor it into the earth, and just kind of, get there. And it happened, but that was a lot of heavy lifting, not to be done by one person. So Joseph now brings the message of, being, what's the word? Responsible for your space holder position, access, tap into, remember your role back then, because you're now going to revisit that now. Now is the time to access that kind of information and that wisdom. And if you're sitting on something, you now need to bring it forth, because that was the agreement, And faith, that when you put your heart and your soul and your body and your spirit into something, the trust, the deep trust of spirit and the guidance will be enough. It will be way more than enough. And it is now a different timeline. You are not back then, where things were very, very, very tough. You hold the same magic and wisdom you had back then, and you are able to bring it forth now in a completely different timeline, which is free and devoid of all of that suffering and pain. And you don't have to go and live in a tunnel under the ground and hide. You don't have to hide. You can step out. Nothing is going to happen that happened back then. We've left that behind. It is time to shine your light. It is time for you to take that place and claim your sovereignty. Know thyself so you can become whole, and you can hold that space so others that come can do exactly the same. So that is the message of Joseph Arimathea, and he is there to help each and every one of us. I mean, I've got it on my list here. Call on Joseph when you need to bring people together. Call on Joseph for faith. Call on Joseph when you're building something big. You know, build it and they will come. So I'm bringing in Joseph Arimathea now. I'm sending his deeply, deeply committed love and support to you now. And I hope you can feel that, because a lot of us have got some big missions out there, like really big. I know I have. And there's no need to fear. Not when we've got like a team members like that on our side, right? Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for receiving this. And just on that, if you wish to walk that path back to the Essenes, maybe you want to go and get activated by the sacred well in Egypt. There's a reason why I put that church at the end, because we do the Egypt journey, but then the Holy Family comes in and it just weaves everything together. And I think when you go to that holy church in Egypt, you know, I don't need to explain it. You'll know, you'll feel it. And everybody that I have taken there has had some kind of biblical activation, which has connected them to an Essenes member. Honestly, it's been crazy. People have said, who's this guy? Who's that guy? I was like, oh, well, he was in the Bible, but he was really deeply connected to the Essenes. He was a teacher. He was this, that, and the other. So if you haven't activated your Essenes frequency yet, coming to Egypt is going to awaken that in a big way. So it's not just about like all the Isis peeps and all the rest of it, even though that will come online. It's about the the Essenes frequencies as well. That is a very, very deep, deep core of many of us. And that needs to be awakened now, if it's not been already. Anyway, messages in the comments. Let's hear what you got to say about this one, because I don't think I've done an in-depth video on Joseph like this. But anyway, thank you for watching. Peace.